This video is going to be looking at some of the sources that talk about Augustus's sort of policy towards the provinces. So there's a couple of short sections of Res Gestae, there's some sections of Strabo, there's something called the Edicts of Augustus, and there's also a short section of Suetonius. A lot of these videos that we now are going to be looking at in terms of these thematic like provinces, senate, etc. are looking at whether the emperor has a good or a bad relationship with whatever group it is, but also any changes that they make in that particular area. So in terms of the provinces, are there any changes that Augustus, for example, makes to the administration of the provinces, etc., etc. So that's kind of like the context of what we're doing. Obviously, I've not highlighted in the two different colours because that'd make your life a little bit too easy. I want you to have a little bit of a challenge. So the first section of the source book we'll look at is from Strabo. So we can see some quite good examples of a good relationship here. So there's a temple that is dedicated to Augustus and lots of tribes in that particular area. It doesn't say specifically just Celtic people, so possibly in France, I guess, in Gaul. Also inscribe their names of the tribes. So there's 60 different tribes that come together to create this altar. So that kind of shows this unity, that they are all supporting Augustus, which is very nice for Augustus. We then have this group here, who I'm not going to try and pronounce, have also changed over completely to the Roman way of life. So the Romans, and Augustus in particular, sort of push something called Romanization, which is the idea that provinces would Romanize, so they become more Roman-like in their behaviour, in their laws, in their dress, in their everything, in their government, etc. And the provinces had this system that they could go through. So I didn't mean to pause and a loud noise up my window made me jump. They could go through these different stages of a system. They could earn basically full Roman citizenship. The more they Romanized, the easier it became for them to do so. So this particular group has done this. So most have become Latins, which is one of the stages in the Roman citizenship, and have received Roman colonists. So they're not far off all being Romans. So that kind of describes this process of going from basically provincials through to the different stages of citizenship. The present jointly founded cities of Pax Augusta, Eretria Augusta, and Caesar Augusta, as well as some other settlements, now show clearly the change in civic life. So you've got examples here of different provinces wanting to become Roman. So that does show perhaps that there's quite a good relationship between the provinces and Augustus because they want to become Roman. So then we have the Res Gestae's version of all of this. So I paid the towns money for their fields, which I assigned to the soldiers. So this is quite a difference from what happened in the Republic, when land could just be seized by generals and given out to soldiers. So at least he's paying compensation for this. So that's a good thing. And it tells you that he had paid out 600 million sesterces in total in Italy, and another 260 million for the provincial fields. Cool, fine. He then lists here that there's some different military colonies were set up. I haven't highlighted them because they're not particularly exciting, but I guess it's administrative thing, so we'll highlight it in. The provinces, there we go, fine, cool. I paid out rewards in cash to the soldiers whom I had led into the towns when their service was completed. So again, you've got a bit of a military stuff overlapping with this, showing that he is rewarding soldiers correctly and setting up basically their pensions. In the temples of all the cities of the province of Asia, as victor, I placed the ornaments with whom I fought the war had possessed privately after he despoiled the temples. This is as close as Augustus is going to get to mentioning Antony. So he whom I fought the war. So that's obviously the Battle of Actium. So Antony had raided some temples in order to get silver and gold to pay for the war. So basically Augustus has restored all of these treasures back to them. So silver statues of me on foot, on horseback, and standing in a chariot were erected in 80 cities. Everyone loves him. I myself removed from the money I replaced gold offerings in the temple of Apollo under my name, and of those who paid the honour of statues to me. So these statues went up, and that shows everybody loves him, but he does melt them down, because one thing Augustus wants to try and show is that he is quite humble, that he's not sort of trying to take power, etc. So yes, he melts these down, which could cause a difficult relationship, but the fact that he then puts these gold offerings in a temple, not only under his name, but those who'd made the statues in the first place, shows that he's honouring and saying, look, I acknowledge that you were trying to honour me. I don't want the statues of me, but I will give the gods a gift in your name as well. And that would obviously help form a good relationship. And then we have just a nice big list of different colonies that he set up. cool, fine. And he sets up 28 colonies also in Italy. Okay. So then we have a series of edicts. So edicts are basically judgments that can become law that he passes in this place called Cyrene. And essentially it's to do with some problems that this particular province was having between the relationship of Romans and the provincial people who were, well, not the provincial people, but the provincial people who were Greek. It's not a particularly exciting source, if I'm honest. I read it. Yeah, it goes on forever as well. Sorry about this. So I won't spend too long on it, but it's all to do with law cases. What this does show us, if you don't ever want to quote from this, and I don't blame you, you can reference it, is that Augustus will directly intervene in a province when necessary to try and smooth over a problem. So, cool. So he proclaims, because it's an edict, and he sets up this new jury system, basically. So find that 250 Romans in all from every age group in the province of Cyrene have a census rating of 2,500 denarii or more. So it just basically says where in society they are, from whom jurors are drawn, that among them there are some cliques. So there are some sort of like groupings of people. And since people from this place here, from the province's cities, have complained bitterly that these have been oppressing the Hellenes, the Greeks, in lawsuits involving the death penalty. So basically, there have been some groups of Romans, Romans in that province who've been basically acting really badly towards the Greeks in that particular area. So they've been treating the provincials really badly. And it's to do with these lawsuits involving the death penalty, with the same individuals prosecuting and bearing witness for each in turn. It's a bit of a racket, really. And since I myself have learnt that some innocent people have been crushed in this way and have been carried off to the ultimate punishments, people have been unjustly executed, until the Senate deliberates on this matter, or I myself find some better salutations, until like a more permanent solution is found, the governors of the province of Crete and Cyrene, in my opinion, will be acting honestly and appropriately if they do the following things. If they appoint in the province of Cyrene the same number of Hellenic jurors as of Romans from the highest census ratings. So basically going to change the setup of the jury system in this particular province in order for it to be a lot fairer. Or if the numbers of jurors who need to be appointed cannot be met in this way, let them appoint people with half, not less, of the census rating as juries in the trials of Hellenes involving the death penalty. So you're trying to like change the weighting of the juries to ensure that there is a fair trial. That's basically what this edict goes on about. And a Greek who is on trial one day before the prosecutor behind to speak is to be given the power over whether he wants all of his jurors to be Romans or half to be Hellenes. So the Greeks who also are on trial will get a slightly different option. They can do half and half, or they can just have Romans on their own. Okay, fine. So then you go through here about how they're gonna basically, if he decides to go half and half, that they're gonna write their names on these little balls, and they're gonna draw out the balls by random and all the rest of it. So basically just doing a jury. Then all the rest should depart for the voting, give their votes separately, the Romans casting the votes into one voting urn and the Greeks separated separately into another. And once the tallying of votes on both sides have been done separately, the governors declare publicly what is the judgment of the majority of all the jurors. So basically it's trying to stop kind of like influence of the Romans on the Greeks to ensure that the trials are fairer. And what he also says is that they should not allow a Roman to prosecute a Greek for the killing of a Greek man or woman. So in other words, it should be like, the Greeks taking Greeks to trial, not Romans taking Greeks to trial, if the victim is indeed a Greek person. Okay, unless someone not honoured with Roman citizen brings an action for the death of one of his relatives or fellow citizens. So there's like a provision within that. So that's the first edict. Then we get a second edict a little bit later. There ought not to be ill will and censure against Publius Sextius Sceva, because he saw to Aulus, I have no idea how to pronounce that name, Maximus, and Lucius, someone else, and this person here, being sent bound to me from the province of Cyrene, when these men said they knew and wanted to deliver something that was connected with my safety and the public interest. Since they knew nothing of matters connected with me in the public interest, but said that they fabricated it in the province, made it clear to me they had lied, I released them from custody with their freedom. So essentially, these three guys were kind of arrested and sent to Augustus because they claimed that they were danger to Augustus, and then obviously once they're questioned, they're like, we literally have no idea what this is all about, and therefore he releases them. So again, it's that kind of intervention to stop a miscarriage of justice. So there you go, that's exciting. Edict 3, I command those from the same province, who have been honoured with Roman citizenship to perform their public duties in turn no less than the body of the Greeks, except for those whom exemption from tax together with citizenship has been given by law, or by senatorial decree, or by decree of my father or myself. Whew. So basically, he wants those who have been given Roman citizenship in the provinces to pull their weight and to, do the same thing the provincials are doing, except those who have exempted because of taxes. That's fine, but that they must pay the dues for all property acquired after that point. So they've got to pay their fair taxes, basically. It's a very long-winded way of saying that. And then his fourth edict, please nearly done. Whatever disputes between Greeks in the province of Cyrene, except for those on trial for life, so like the ultimate punishment, whoever is in charge of the province ought himself to pass judgment and determine or to provide a panel of jurors for all the cases I wish the Hellenic jurors to be given, unless one being investigated or called into account wants to have jurors who are Roman citizens. So basically this is reinforcing edict number 1. Okay. Really exciting set of sources, I think we can all agree. So essentially we just have this kind of intervention in the provinces trying to sort out and stop the bad treatment of provincials by those with Roman citizenship. That is it. That is what the source is going on about. We then have a nice section of Suetonius or Augustus. I mean, something weird then. So basically he was sailing, which is nice, and he comes across a boat from Alexandria, and they wished him the greatest of good fortune because they said they owed their lives to him and the liberty to sail the seas, their entire freedom and prosperity. So basically, because of Augustus's rule, they have complete freedom in the empire. Isn't life wonderful? Isn't it great? And he's obviously very gifted and very happy to hear this, as you would expect him to be. What was more, he made the last 2 or 3 days of his stay on Capri, so this is a very nice island, the occasion for distributing amongst other little presents Roman togas and Greek cloaks to the islanders. So he's treating them really nicely, and he gets them all to dress up, and essentially they have some gymnastics, and that's about it really for this massive section. He then says some kind of stuff. It's like a really rubbish anecdote about Augustus watching a play and someone kind of like saying something not particularly exciting or funny, so I'm going to skip over that. He next crossed over to the Neapolis and watched an athletic competition which was held in his honour every 5 years. So there's the important bit, that the provincials are honouring Augustus and therefore putting on a show for him. Isn't that wonderful? So you can see there's obviously quite a lot of really good evidence here to show that he has a very positive relationship with the provincials, and where he discovers that there is mistreatment of provincials, he steps in and intervenes.